So I'm a doctor by background, and I'm the medical director at Oviva. So what I wanted to start is by giving you a patient story around how we're at sort of where we came to be and what we're really about. So imagine if you have to have your renal transplant because you're in renal failure and you're on the waiting list, but because the reason why you're in renal failure is because you're obese and you've developed your type 2 diabetes. And you go to the clinic outpatient appointment and you're looking forward to being put on the transplant waiting list, and you're told that you're too obese to have a transplant. And so you need treatment to be able to help you get to the right weight to have your transplant. Now, at the moment, the way that this is delivered is by specialist healthcare professionals called dietitians. And what they do is they help patients who have really severe medical problems change their diet in a way that enables them to be able to get the treatments that they need. So this applies in things like renal transplant, it applies in severe complex obesity and diabetes and gastrointestinal disease and things like that. So the problem that we have today is that dietitians have a face-to-face appointment with their doctor. They give their patients a paper food diary and a paper activity diary, which obviously never gets filled in by anyone ever. And then they see them a month later. And so I am this patient who weighs 120 kilos. I'm told I have to lose weight to get on the transplant list. I've been given an hour with a dietitian, and I'm told, go home, fill out what your food choices are, and come back in a month, and hopefully you've lost some weight. So at the moment, this doesn't really sound like a perfect solution of where we are. So what Oviva is really a CRM system, so a client relationship management system for the dietitian to be able to engage their patient in a wholly new way. So what we have is an app for the patient where they have basically a secure version of WhatsApp where they take photos of all the food that they eat. So they're basically doing their food diary. They also track all of their activities, so they can either do that manually or synced with a Fitbit. They work through their goals, and the main sort of part of it is really about providing an iterative feedback cycle between the patient and the care provider. So I've got my patients along here, and so I'm one of the patients. So I click on me, and I look through what my patient has been doing for the last few weeks. And obviously, I'm very healthy, so I just have a lot of cake and then some steak. And so what you're doing here in this part is really a coaching system for these patients. So what the dietitians are is they're specialists in a modified form of cognitive behavioral therapy. So they're helping patients make those daily choices. So now, instead of waiting for a month when I'm not sure about what I should be doing and how I should be changing my diet, I take my photos of my food, and then I'm actually getting a daily feedback from my dietitian. And I feel that I've got a much, much stronger support network from that dietitian to be able to drive the change that is there. And then interestingly, in healthcare, shockingly, a lot of these patients don't turn up to clinic because they're scared about making the right choices. They don't really know why they're there. They're not losing weight. They're not motivated. And what we are really trying to do is make these patients motivated, make them want to come to clinic, where they know, like, look, my coach is telling me that I'm improving, I'm making the right choices and things like that. I'm a patient and I have my app, and I have my dietitian, my goals, my activities, my weight. And so I go in at the top, so I go to my dietitian, and just so you know it's not a computer that you're talking to, you get a nice profile of Lucy, who's one of our dietitians. And then your main channel is just a communication history, which you saw the opposite of just on there, where you take your photos, you ask questions to your dietitian and things like that. You can also be sent surveys, so you get surveys from your patients, and then they open up in a separate window. And then you can also do things like, if you get sent a really good message or you want to remember something that your dietitian sent you, you can also pin those messages as well. Now, then the next thing that you're doing, so one other thing to talk about, is that you have your goal of the week at the top that you're working through, so reduce total fat intake. And then you go through your goals that you've been assigned by your dietitian. So I know what I'm supposed to be doing this week. I'm all about reducing my fat. Previously, I've improved my plate distribution, et cetera, and I know what's coming up next. And then behind each of these are sort of PDF e-learning documents. I can then track my activities over time, so I can do that manually. So I did half an hour of tennis today, and then you see that over time. Obviously, it doesn't look quite as good as Fitbit or anything else like that, but it syncs with Fitbit and anything else, any other source that you want to integrate your activity with. You log your weight over time. So again, just very simply, I've put on a bit of weight, whoops. And then lastly, when you're the patient, you can set up your syncing, so you can sync it to a Fitbit or Apple Healthcare to be able to get your steps and things like that. So what we tried to do was create something that an 8-year-old could use or an 80-year-old could use in terms of engaging within their care. So what I've shown you is the patient experience and then the dietitian experience. So what I'd really appreciate is some feedback on how you, if putting yourself in that patient's shoes, would feel like this and feel, is this going to motivate you or not? And then also maybe switch back to how the dietitian is engaging with the patient and if there's a different way that we can think about that as well.
Fantastic, and that was perfect timing, so round of applause.
Chosen pictures instead of choosing, making it more automated, like the ingredients, because it seems a lot of work for the dietitian to go through all the reading, plus understand from the photo which ingredients you took. Why not choose the ingredients or what about that?
Yeah, so MyFitnessPal is obviously the classic example of this, where you get patients to input every single thing that they're eating and they have their regular meals. If you give someone MyFitnessPal, they stop entering stuff in 5 days on average, no matter who they are. They just stop entering it because no one can be bothered to continue to put in different meal choices and different things. Whereas, can you just take a photo? Yes. So there is, with us, the real challenge was, how do we get it so a patient will actually do it? And the experience in the clinical trials are that if you get the patient to input every data point, they just don't.
Sort of end goal, you get to the point where a patient ideally reaches the transplant list. Mm-hmm. I'm just wondering, what is the follow-on from there? What about what would happen? Do you now lose this patient forever, or is there another avenue you ideally want to push them through?
So this is a really good question, and for us to think about as a business. So the way that dietetics works in healthcare is you come at 100 kilos, we get you to 90 kilos, you're done. We've sorted you out basically forever. And that's the way that they think about it. Obviously they regain weight afterwards because it's really, really hard to do. So for us, I totally agree, is what is the long-term way that they can continue to engage. So we offer for them to continue to use the app with time, but obviously they're just logging and they're not getting any feedback from a dietitian because it is the professional who's providing them the intervention. So I guess, does it sound like a community group that you can actually then go into once you've been through a weight loss program and you've got onto the transplant list, where you can continue to engage, basically? Is that the kind of thing that you're thinking around? Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Can we have a huge round of applause for Mark and Oviva?